It's been really enjoyable for me to jump back into some older games that have smaller, tight-knit communities. We did this with Warframe, people that just generally have been around for years and are still loving the game, or maybe they've gone and come back to the game, but it's been really fun to stream those games and then make content about why they might be great. We did this a lot with Warframe and I had a great time there. So I thought the next game to look at would be Division 2. I never actually got a chance to play Division 2. I was in a stranglehold by Destiny and obviously making a lot of content on Destiny for the last decade. I played a little bit of Division 1, but it never really grabbed me. So Division 2 was on my list of games to play and engage with the community, and I had a pretty good time up until the Battle for Brooklyn DLC, which was their most recent DLC, and I did have a breaking point.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Nah, I'm crashing out. Don't buy this. Don't buy it. Don't play it. I'm not even gonna make a Division video anymore. I'm over this. See ya. I'm getting off, crashing out. This is not fun. This is not tuned for solo players. Now, I regret what I said then, and obviously I said it in the heat of the moment and anger, and here we are making a Division 2 video. And actually, the very next day on the podcast, the DCP podcast, I then spoke about all the good things to do with Division 2, because there is a lot to love here, and I even interviewed the community and got them to give me why they're still playing the Division 2 all these years later. And so this video is about describing what the Division 2 is and what it isn't, and if you are looking for another looting shooter, this might be the game for you, or maybe it's not the game for you, and some of the stumbling blocks that I had, and we'll go from there. These are Raycon's everyday headphones. Well, actually, they're the box that they come in. My actual headphones are with my wife right now. She always steals them because she works in an open plan office. There's lots of noise and distraction around her, and these have the hybrid active noise cancellation, meaning you could block out chatty Cathy in cubicle 2 because you don't need to hear her nonsense and conversation. They are also great because when you're wearing something like these, it signals to all your other work colleagues that you are doing actual work and to stop talking to you. But coming into summer, you're hopefully not in the office all the time, and when you can get out and about, go to the gym, go outside, get some sunshine, what's that? These are great for that too. You can just activate the awareness mode so you can hear what is happening around you rather than blocking it out. They have a USB-C charging. It only takes 15 minutes to charge for 2 hours, so you're not going to need any other cables to. You likely already use a USB-C, so that's great. When they are on a full battery, you will get 40 hours of battery life, so that will get you through the longest office day, or what seems like to be a very short summer weekend. So with a 30-day happiness guarantee return policy and starting at half the price of premium audio brands, go to buyraycon.com/Myelin15 to get 15% off your Raycon's best-selling headphones, brought to you by Raycon. What's incredibly deceptive about the Division 2 is that it is such a good cover shooter, you kind of forget that there is this big stat game behind it. And even though you're playing a cover shooter, you kind of need to treat it like Diablo, like Path of Exile. And that was kind of the real turning point. And the reason why I crashed out with this boss, to give myself some credit, people coming through this live streams did say that that boss was quite challenging and that boss was quite difficult for playing solo, and it is better in teams, and we'll get to some of those discussion points in a bit. But my comparison I want to make right now is if I was playing Path of Exile or Diablo 4 and I got to a boss, I got to a section, I was getting stomped on, my reaction would be not F this game, I'm never talking about it again and I'm not playing it. It would be like, my stats are, I don't have the right build, my stats are rubbish, I should go and grind and get my loot. And it wasn't really until I had that breakdown, I was like, yeah, okay, I did need to drop the difficulty down, and I wasn't at that level yet. I was getting one-tapped by the boss. Sure, let's just say that maybe that boss was overtuned or whatever, but the point still stands. I probably should have dropped the level down, or I need to go out and get some loot. And I think that's kind of how you need to think of the Division 2, and I didn't really know that going in. So if you like games like Path of Exile, like Diablo, because that's a big portion of this is your stat building. You do have other like more Destiny-ish builds. You do have exotic armor pieces, exotic weapons that give you perks that like work together. But there's also a big portion of getting the 0.2% increase in crit hit damage, right? And that's important to consider going into Division 2. And it wasn't until I just had that little breakdown that I thought, I'm kind of treating this game too much like a cover shooter and that I can outplay it rather than I need to go and actually farm some more loot and make my build and optimize my build a little bit better. Right, but how do you do that? How do you make your build better? What's the crafting like, or the build crafting like in the Division 2? And I had no idea how this worked until I started playing it. There are two kind of systems. There might be, actually, there's more systems than just two. There are two systems that I can describe adequately to you right now. And universally, the library system is what all the players that we, when I was streaming, they came in and spoke about the library system. They said it's one of the best systems I've seen in crafting, and that is part of the reason why they really enjoy this game. So let me walk you through this library system. The way it works is we have a weapon here. I'm looking at the Tommy gun, and it has two core attributes. It's got 15% on the SMG damage, and it's got 21% on the critical hit chance. And then it has a normal attribute, which is 8% health damage, and then it has a talent on it, all right? Measured, as the talent is called measured. The top half of the magazine has a 25% rate of fire and a negative 25% weapon damage. The bottom half of the magazine has a negative 18% rate of fire and a 30% weapon damage, right? So something that, it's like a perk from Destiny. Now, the library system allows you to farm gear and then remove some of these attributes from the gear to make essentially a god roll. So, for example, this Tommy gun rolled with, you see this bar here, it has a max rolled SMG damage. It also happened to roll a max roll critical hit chance. Now, if I didn't like or didn't want to use this Tommy gun, I can actually extract one of those things so I can use it in something else. And it's like a permanent extraction. So you just go to your Tinker Bench. Oh, okay, I think I'm going to be off that. I've got to be here. Go to our Tinker Bench. We head over to library and it shows you which things we can extract by these little green triangles. So for example, in assault rifles, I have some attributes here that I can extract from my weapons. So if I come down, it says extraction available. I have a look on this and it shows me on this King Breaker, I can extract, which I haven't done before, a reload speed, and it's at 10.3%. Now, this will then give me a reload speed of 10.3% that I can put on any other assault rifle. So part of the grind is grinding weapons with maxed roll stats so you can extract one stat from it. The other part of the grind is something like, go back to my Tommy gun, right, is finding a weapon that's like close to a god roll. That's a 3 out of 4, right? It's already got two maxed core attributes, the SMG damage and the critical hit chance. And of course, you're trying to grind the right stat roll on that as well. But then let's say I don't want this health damage. I can re-roll it. I can just remove it and I can replace it with another perk I've pulled off another gun. And the great thing is you're just collecting and filling out your library. These aren't like consumables. Once I've extracted it from a gun, I've got that perk that I can, or attribute that I can put on a different weapon. That's the library system. I think it's probably one of the best crafting systems I've seen because it still keeps the loot chase in the game. You still got to grind for the weapon you want that has mostly the right rolls on it. And when it's not like a gold roll or whatever, you can remove one of those perks and put it on, put a better perk on it, put a better attribute on it. But you still have to get that perfect attribute by playing the game. Really, really like the library system. Seems like the community likes it a lot as well. The other aspect of build crafting that I could adequately describe to you is, well, I think adequately, I'm sure there's more details here, but similar to Destiny, you can equip exotics. They are called exotics. You can have one exotic weapon and you can have one exotic armor piece on. And then you also have gear sets as well. So for example, St. Elmo is the assault rifle I'm using. And it has this perk which says shooting an enemy with this weapon will give 1 stack. At 100 stacks, the next magazine will be 100% filled with shock ammo. Okay, so I start shocking enemies once I've filled up 100 stacks. And then I've combined that with a striker gear set, which says this. So when I have at least 4 pieces of striker gear, we get a bunch of bonuses with it. At 2 pieces, we get 15% weapon handling. At 3 pieces, we get 15% rate of fire. At 4 pieces, we get Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. 1 stack lost per second between 0 and 50 stacks, 2 stacks lost per second between 50 and 100 stacks. And then on top of that, our backpack, is it the backpack? The backpack has another talent that relates to Striker's Gamble. Okay, increases total weapon damage gained per stack of Striker's Gamble from 0.65 to 0.9. And I think the chest piece does too, but I've swapped the chest piece out for something a little bit different. I think if you haven't played Division, you kind of get the picture. There are gear sets to use. There are also exotic weapons and exotic armors and lots of different ways to mix and match. I've only experienced this one gear set and this one build. I've been told they can get a lot more flavorful. I've watched a stream where a dude's like a headshot build and he's one-shotting all these high-level enemies and they're like blowing up. It looks like Firefly, you know, from Destiny. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know you can do that. So that's the two systems that I can describe to you for build crafting, and definitely the aspects of why people love this game. The library, and then combining it with this like gear set build as well. And of course, there's like 3 different build categories. 1, using your primary like firearm. 2, being like a tank and having big armor. And 3, you know, spamming your abilities or your skills. So there are a bunch of skills that you unlock through doing the campaign and the extra DLCs. You know, from sticky bombs, decoys, the classic pulse, which you'll remember from Division 1, where you can see enemies through walls, putting down turrets, having drones, seeker mines, smart cover, ballistic shields. These are all your skills that you can incorporate into a build as well. You're then probably thinking, whoa, that's a lot of things to grind for. You're grinding for like perfect stats to extract from weapons and then put onto, you know, already close to perfect rolled weapon, and then you're grinding for an exotic. You got to get the exotic to drop, and you're grinding for gear sets. Like, oh, that seems like too much. Not for me. Well, Division 2 probably has one of the most respectful gear grinds in any game I've played. You can press R on this map here and you'll see targeted loot locations. So this shows you where gear drops, what kind of gear drops from different areas of the map, so you know which activities to do. But it actually gets even easier than that. These at the top are also activities that you can just jump into and you can matchmake with other people. Countdown is an activity that I guess it's like I don't want to say raid, because I think if you play Destiny, you're going to think it's something a little bit different. But there are 8 people that go into this encounter. It is a high-level encounter. You all need to work together. I wouldn't say there's quite that many mechanics to it, but the loot is absolutely plentiful. And you just literally can, let me see how it goes. Show target loot, select target loot, H. You can just select what your targeted loot is from this activity. So if you want to, like for me, I think I needed to get the exotic rifle, or as assault rifle. Is it assault rifle? I just selected that, and then I got an exotic assault rifle to drop. And then when I wanted to get that striker gear set, I just had to find where the striker gear set was. I'm not very good at the what all the symbols look like yet. And then you just do it. And that gear drops, has a higher percentage chance of dropping. And so it's very, very easy to farm the things you want to look for. More of the fun is about working out what build you want to go, and then you just kind of put a movie on in the background and then grind out some activities with targeted loot. Targeted loot is something else that the community said is, you know, one of the reasons they kept playing this game. So I think it's pretty clear that Division 2 gets the loot and shooting part correct, the core loop of gaining loot and making builds. But it's not just that, and these are the things that I really stood out to me when I was playing the game. Atmosphere and environment and the immersion in the game is second to none. I think the urban environments in Division 2 are better than any other game I've played. Suggest other urban environments that are better, but they always look incredibly good, incredibly detailed. And for a third-person cover shooter, nothing really looks out of place. You know, you often play third-person cover shooters, and you're like, well, that box in the center of this like arena area looks really odd. Like it's obviously there so I can take cover behind it. But everything in Division 2 always feels quite natural. And that really adds to that immersion level. On top of that, it is a very slick third-person cover shooter. I've played so many third-person games. I feel like a lot of game companies try to stay away from first-person shooters because they can't compete with Call of Duty. And once once upon a time Halo and Bungie and Apex Legends, right? Like it's hard to make a really good feeling first person shooter, and so you get a lot of third person shooters on the market. And I kind of forget what a really slick third-person shooter is until you play something again like Division 2. So that system always feels good. You can run from cover to cover. The way you like mantle over things and take cover, it's all very nice. The other thing that really stood out for me with Division 2 is the team play. I actually found when I played Warframe, I actually didn't like playing in a team because people just their builds get so bombastic that they just wipe out the entire field. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I literally didn't see the enemy. I didn't get to shoot my weapon, didn't get to play the game basically before you wiped everything out. And Division 2, I actually think does a really good job of balancing encounters based on how many people are in your party, and even inviting people from stream to come play with me. Like I felt like I was doing something all the time. And if anything, it actually definitely added to the immersion. We were all like behind cover and behind barriers and, synchronized skills. Like I actually really enjoyed the team play of Division 2. The other thing that I think I noticed first off is my main memory of Division 1 was just like, I don't want to play this because everyone feels like a bullet sponge. Now, I don't know how correct that is, but that was my memory of Division 1 is like, everything's a bullet sponge. I can't really get behind this because I'm shooting a dude with a exotic beanie on that's taking 300 rounds from an LMG. I really feel like they've balanced out the bullet sponginess of Division 2, and especially with the campaign, like I didn't notice it at all. You only might notice it if you start bumping up the difficulty and doing end game activities and you don't have a build yet. But even like once you're playing at the level you should be playing, well, and this is where I come back to the idea of like treat it like Diablo or Path of Exile. Like if you went into too hard of an area in Path of Exile and you're tickling the enemies, you just go, I'm not ready for this, and you leave and you come back later. And I kind of feel like that's how Division 2 feels like right now. I never really felt like there was crazy bullet sponges, and if there was, I was like, I've just bumped up this difficulty too hard, or I've just stumbled into this endgame activity and I shouldn't quite be here yet. And I think they've got that balance really well. So if bullet sponginess put you off Division 1, I don't think it'll put you off Division 2. Oh, and how could I forget? The music is incredibly underrated. It is such a banging soundtrack. So many times we're like, wow, this is a bop. I didn't realize you had it in you, Division 2. Right, there are all the positives and the reasons why I think you should play the game, or at least describe to you what kind of game it is and see if it's up your alley or not. Now, do I have any criticism of the game? Of course. Of course. Now, this is not to, tell you not to buy it, not to play it, whatever. It's just some of the things that I struggle with, some of the things to consider if you're thinking about getting into it. The first is I was not super impressed with the story. I know a lot of people enjoy the story and like it. I think there were flashes of brilliance with the story. I think the story does best when it's really gritty, and there are some of these like little video vignettes that play that really show humanity at their worst. And I think Division, it's a Tom Clancy in Tom Clancy universe. Like I think it's at its best when it really reflects the worst of society and humanity. And I think that could be a little bit too close to home sometimes. So maybe they, especially a game about a virus outbreak, maybe they toned that down. Maybe they were a little bit nervous to go full send. But I think the game's at its best when it just shows humanity being awful. And that's kind of why I would play a Tom Clancy game. So I hope that would be, well, we're getting a Division 3, by the way, eventually. So maybe they'll improve that in Division 3. Some people do love it, though. This is just my opinion. Some people do love it. They like the echoes and the little stories that go through the world. But it didn't grab me. My other main criticism, I think, is the time it takes to get to like build crafting and the library system. Even though it's unlocked from quite an early stage, there's no real need to do it while you work through the campaign. This is once again kind of like how you treat it like a Diablo or Path of Exile, where you just put on your high stat gear as you go. You're not really looking to make builds early on until you get to max level and your weapons and that start rolling higher level stats on them, essentially. And I almost tapped out before I got to the build crafting. So I think if you get the game, you play the game and you're like, when does it get good? Like when do I get to that really good core gameplay loop that Myelin's described? He's lied to me. Once you're at level 40, and you can pay to skip there, but you might miss some stuff. So I think just be prepared that there is a little bit of time before you get to what I think is the best part of the game, which is that core loop of targeted loot and then making a build and then ripping the stats off and putting it into your library. The map, and there's other stuff that I think the game suffers from, but it's nothing to do with them probably being able to do it better. It's to do with the game being around for so long. Just like Warframe, there are a lot of systems to get your head around. There's lots of things that have been added over the years. So, the map can be absolutely sensory overload at first and just understanding everything that's on the map, but it is all there. And if you take your time to read it, which I don't, and then I complain it's too hard, you will eventually get through it. But I think the first 2 points, especially if you come from something like Warframe, and we did make a bunch of Warframe videos, I think you'll find will impact your pace and enjoyment on the Division 2, so just be aware of them. Because in Warframe, for me, the story, I was so engaged in the story, that carried me for like 80 to 100 hours or something, right? Like, it was a huge amount of the story that carried the first part until I got up to the build crafting, right? And I also felt like Warframe's build crafting starts from the get-go, where you get mods almost immediately, you start placing them on stuff, and you start getting builds very early on. Whereas Warframe, because I didn't Division 2, because I didn't engage with the story that much and was just trying to get to level 40 so I could start the build crafting, I almost tapped out early. Okay, so just be aware of that. Right, there you go. I have not done raids. If you want me to do raids, I will stream the raids. I will do the raids. Leave a like and a comment. If this video does well, then I'll do a raid and make a video about the raids in Division 2. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next game. It's been lots of fun playing Variety. If you'd like to support the channel, you can leave a comment. You can leave the word Division 2. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Bye.